She's just a girl, but she's on fire.
Hi everybody, Ali Alvarez, and I'm really excited about today's subject because it's kind of something that's very dear to my heart and something I'm actually very good at. I'm going to talk about debt, and debt is something that I managed to have power over in my life. I was sort of wired to play that credit card money game in a different way than most people. And I coached a few friends. When I sort of edify my experience for a minute here, I've coached a few friends on how to get out of debt. And I actually sort of as an experiment, did some credit card arbitrage at a point in my life where I pulled in $10,000 of debt. And it was actually a way that I was going to save money. And I treated it like a game to purposely work with debt and to pay it off and I did that within 1 year. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I did that. Now I know that $10,000 is actually a really small number for some of the people that are dealing with some of these massive numbers. But the concepts are the same, the foundational ideas are the same that I'm going to talk to you about, and they can still work. It doesn't always mean that you can avoid bankruptcy if that is something that has to be done. But there's definitely some things I think that you're going to get value from today and be able to work with, because a lot of it comes from mindset and approach. So I'm going to give you, I have a little list of 7 tactics that I think are going to be really, really helpful. I want to start this out with a quote from another one of my heroes, Albert Einstein. Thank God for Albert Einstein and all the wisdom that he brought to the planet. But Albert Einstein has one of my favorite quotes from him. It says that our problems are not solved at the same level of thinking that when we were first thinking them. I'm going to make sure I have that right. It's like, oh my God, I had to memorize the quote. We will not solve the problem at the same level of thinking that created it. So essentially, if you look at that, is that we need to rise above our thinking. We cannot solve that problem if we're down in the muck and the mire. The thought process is the mindset that actually created the problem. We have to rise above that. And so a lot of the tactics that I'm going to teach and share with you today are going to show you how to do that. Money does not solve problems. Intelligence solves problems. And the intelligence produces money. Okay, so we're going to go through the 7 tactics to help you eradicate debt. The first one is treat it like a game. So my few friends that I coached to come out of debt, and they both did it within the course of 1 year, that was the first thing that I had them do, was that I wanted to have them approach it from a mindset of this is a game, is the very first one. So when we treat something like a game, we approach it from a higher emotional level, and we come at it with a little more of a playful feeling instead of those heavy emotions of anger and fear that we tend to surround debt with. Which leads us to point number 2, is not hiding from the numbers. We hide from the numbers because we're afraid. We're afraid, we're embarrassed, we're ashamed, we're angry. So you can't heal something in your life unless you bring it into the light. And that can take great courage, and it can bring stuff up for us. So it really is the moment to say, all right, I need to really look at what this is, and I need to be truthful about myself and truthful about what this circumstance is. And so what I want you to do is you're going to make a list of all your numbers, of all the debt, all the cards, everywhere that what we would call negative debt. Robert Kiyosaki categorizes positive debt and negative debt. Positive debt is debt that will not pay you back in the future, right? We can invest in a home, we can invest in a car that you might be able to resell. What is going to increase in value? Education can increase in value. So if we're investing in ourselves or we're investing in education, that's called positive debt, and that's not the same category. What we're really looking at is the unconscious debt that accrues from not being connected to living within our means, that where we're overspending, we're overbuying on clothing, we're buying too much car, we're buying too much house, and we've sort of gotten ourselves underwater a little bit. So our house could actually be in either category depending upon the choice we made around that. So it's really, we want to really get clear on the numbers, and I want you to get clear on the numbers of the bad debt. Not leave the good debt aside. That's a whole other conversation for another time. So you're going to make your list. You're going to bring the numbers. You're going to get your flashlight out, and you're going to bring your numbers up to the surface. And I want you to make a running list of what are the numbers, what are the percentage rates that you're being charged for interest for all of the amounts of debt, and you're going to put the worst offenders at the top. Those are the ones we're going to eradicate first. And what you want to do is create a one-year plan. And you may be able to shave off $10,000 off of the total amount of your debt within 1 year. You might be able to do 15 to 20. I've done 10,000 in 1 year in manageable chunks. And it took a lot of focus and a lot of work to do, but 10,000 is a very doable number to eradicate that off of a median salary. So depending upon your cost of living, your living expenses, and how your budget is, you might be able to say, all right, I'm going to take $10,000 off. And so you want to break that year of $10,000, let's say we're going to work with $10,000, and you want to break it down into monthly chunks. How much does that mean that you have to pay off every month? And sometimes don't quote me on the math, don't have a calculator in front of me, but it's been a while since I've done this, but it might be around like $2,500 a month. So that's going to be something you're going to say, all right, this is my goal. I'm going to pay this amount off this month. And what you're essentially wanting to do is eradicate card after card after card. And this is the logical path, and there's part of you that's probably going to be saying, yeah, I know that. But stick with me here. There's more to come. Is essentially that you're going to just keep trimming it away. Okay, so, but the main aspect of that is you can't hide from the numbers. You have to really bring them to light. And I'm going to suggest that you make your list, and you're going to put it in two different places. One, you're going to put it on the refrigerator. The refrigerator is something we open every single day. And you're going to put a little note underneath your debt row, and you're going to kind of connect it into the game that you're playing, and you're going to say, I win at this game, or you're going to put some sort of positive message underneath to keep you in the mindset of play. And each time that you hit your monthly goal of paying off a certain amount of debt, you're going to cross off in red, you're going to change those numbers. So when you have your little piece of paper up on your fridge, leave room for you to watch so you can visually see the numbers getting smaller. So it's not just the credit card statement that's coming in every month. It's sort of showing you that we have sort of nasty feelings around sometimes. You want to have it on your fridge, and you want to shift it, reframe it into a positive game where I'm like, all right, now my numbers are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and to really visually see that. And you're actually training your subconscious to move in that direction. And so you'll have it both on your fridge and probably in your office, or like a journal or something that you're going to access in your office world, or where you pay bills. I'm going to share with you a little mentor tactic that one of my awesome peeps, Tony Rush, did when he was in a very challenging place in his world financially, is that to reframe his relationship as the bills came in, he would start to write on them, like in big red letters, paid in full, because he was trying to train his mindset and his mind to look at this is paid in full. Instead of that energetic sort of viewpoint or that point of view when we look at this and going, oh my gosh, it's so much, it's so heavy. Debt is very, very heavy and it's very dense. So we got to move out of that. We got to raise ourselves above that to start having a different feeling. That feeling comes first. The reality of the debt moving out of our life comes second. But you got to shift your state. That's what Tony Robbins talks about, shifting your state around that relationship. And these are some of the things that are going to help you shift your state. So you can even do that on your bills, is write paid in full, and like a big red marker or black marker or purple. Choose your color. Have fun with it. Again, it's a game, right? Money and numbers, at the end of the day, if you were to sort of like rise above this little world of humans that we are, it is a game, right? When we die, we don't take our debt with us. We leave it for somebody else, right? We don't want to do that. We want to not leave our debt for someone else. But ultimately, it is a game. When I had talked about the very first intro to this 30-day millionaire mindset challenge, one of the books I mentioned was The Richest Man in Babylon. So if debt is something that is a pressing aspect in your life, that is your book, The Richest Man in Babylon. It really goes into the debt mindset of clearing that out. And again, it's 150 pages and really easy, really, really great read. So if you're doing your homework on this 30-day millionaire mindset expansion, that is your read. If this particular video blog today is speaking to you, crack that book open. Okay, number 3, shed light on your emotions, right? That are driving this behavior, okay? So we have unconscious feelings underneath the surface that are sort of hidden from us, that create our impulse purchases, right? We're at Barnes and Nobles, and marketers or advertisers are very brilliant at getting us to purchase unconsciously. So you need to bring your own emotions to the conscious level. The more you can bring to the conscious level, the more you get your power back. And if you think about what debt is a loss of power, right? And so this is about you getting your power back. And one of the fastest ways to do that is to drive your own emotions and to know what your emotions are and to be able to face them and to work with them. Emotions is communication. And we've been taught from a very young age not to have our emotions. Don't cry. Boys don't cry. Don't feel sad. Feel sad. Be pissed off. Have your emotion. That is communication. That is actually your higher self communicating to you. Something's wrong. You need to look at this. Just like you're not going to hide from your emotion, from your numbers, you're not going to hide from your emotions. And so one of the fastest ways to do that is actually to shed light on it and to be just really clear about how it feels and to be okay that you're kind of pissed off or frustrated, and that's okay. You're allowed to feel that way. So once you can identify the feelings and the emotions that are around the debt or your behavior that creates the debt, because really debt is caused by behavior, right? It's behavior that's gone unchecked for a long time, and that we sort of throw under the rug, or we hide it under the bed, and we don't look at ourselves, and we don't look at ourselves, and we don't look at ourselves. And also we turn around and the credit card company owns us. We got to get ourselves back, right? This is really what the game is. So once you can identify your emotions, then you can kind of start to connect what's my behavior that's causing the emotions. This will work the same way with food, right? As a female in the world, many of us, can't speak for everyone, many of us as women, we will make food decisions and eating decisions based on our feelings. Not on actual physical, biological hunger, but on feelings, emotions, So it's the same way with money, right? We're feeling so lousy, so it's time to go shopping at Strawberry, where they have their sales, or whatever, Macy's, or wherever we go, right? And as a consumer, we're sort of like the consumer sheep that we can be, and we all feed into the, oh, it's Black Friday, it's coming up, it's time to like time to like fall asleep and just burn your credit card and just overspend. So you want to be really, really clear on what is your behavior and the emotions that drive you into overspending. And one of the ways you can do that is to actually journal and write about it. You can write about it, you don't have to show it to anybody, you're just showing it to yourself. And again, it's about bringing awareness up to the surface so that you can clear it and move it out. Number 4, forgive yourself. It's a big one. Forgive yourself and love yourself. Be okay that you might have gotten yourself trapped into a corner with debt. And one of the ways to really do this is to understand that there is a game being played against you. And currently, you're losing if debt is a big issue in your life. And that doesn't mean that you can't turn the game around, because you can. And the more you understand that it is a game being played against you, and the cards they're very powerful, very smart strategists doing this game against you, and they're using your unconscious mind against you, keeping information from you or not. It's always the small print, right? And so many times I'll talk to people who've gotten into really deep debt, and they're like, well, I didn't understand APY, and I'm not reading the small print. They don't expect you to, and they know that you're not going. Nobody reads the small print. That's why the whole financial economy collapsed in 2007, 2008, is because there was about 5 people in the financial world who was actually reading the fine print of the prospectuses. And everybody else was mortgage brokers and real estate people and stock people were not reading their work that they're supposed to be reading. Nobody was reading the fine print. Only a few insiders were actually reading that fine print. And one of them is an Asperger's guy who was really fascinated by the small print. Most people are not. So you got to give yourself a little break here. It's not, yes, you got to take responsibility for your part of this, but also understand that there are some pretty strong players that were coming in and playing a game against you. And once you kind of see it that way, give yourself a really big hug and be nice to yourself. Be nice to yourself not by going out and buying yourself a new pair of jeans. Be nice to yourself by taking a nice hot bath, giving yourself a hug, just thinking about yourself in a kind way, right? Making yourself a cup of soothing, nurturing tea. You don't need to be nice to yourself by going out and overspending and creating the bigger hole, right? You're going to be nice to yourself by saying, I'm going to reclaim my life and dig out of the hole. Again, mindset. How are we approaching this? And know that you can give yourself love in different ways. You can give yourself love without spending any money. Trust me, I've done it for a long time. The starving artist thing, I've gotten really, really good at living on very little. Okay, number 5, kind of briefed on this, but this is about taking responsibility. John DeMartini is a man in the personal development world, and he calls it, I like how he calls it the responsibility date, right? You're going to even like claim a date on the calendar or say, this is the day I begin to take responsibility for my whole life. Everything that came into my life, everything that is my life that I created, I'm going to take responsibility for. So even though there are big credit card monster people out there that have stacked the cards against you, you have to take responsibility for where you are in your life and to claim it. You say, okay, this is my mess. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to blame anybody else. I'm going to take it back and I'm going to fix it. And through that action of taking back the problem and not pointing the finger at anybody else, you get back your power. It starts energetically, right? The debt will not go away immediately when you start to say, I'm taking this back and I'm going to eradicate it on my own. Doesn't mean you can't use resources and tools and education. You will, but you are taking responsibility for it. Once you do that, you step into your power. and you start to fix the problem from a place of power, which goes back to Einstein, who says you're going to fix the problem not at the level of thinking, but above that level of thinking. Taking responsibility is about stepping above the problem, fixing the problem from a higher mind state. Got it? Okay, we're going to move on. Number 6. This is a double one. Pay yourself first. Radical self-love. Whatever you make, whatever your income is, pay yourself 10%. Doesn't go towards your credit card debt, doesn't go toward anything else, it goes to you. And you're going to open an account, like a little extra little savings account, 10% off the top. If you can't afford 10%, if you're like, oh my God, it's paycheck to paycheck, and start with $10. Start with whatever you can. It's a symbol, right? It's a symbol to the universe. You're saying, I'm going to start to claim self-worth. I'm valuable. I'm worth something. I'm not a big, deep black hole in the world, in the floor that has like money pouring into it that's creating a deficit in my life. I have value. I'm going to start feeding my value. If you need to start with $10, then raise it to 20 and get up to 100 and then get up to 10%. However you need to do it, make it a game. Don't worry about the how. Don't worry about, oh my God, if I pay $10 here, I'm not going to have enough to pay my internet bill. It'll get fixed. Trust me. You take the action first, everything else falls into place. Right? Trust me on these. They're powerful stuff. The second part of that, first we're paying ourselves first, right? This is going to sound really funny, but you're going to pay your debt twice. Now, what I mean by this is that, and then there's a whole mathematical thing, and my brother is sort of like the math guy. And when we were talking about debt, there's something about, especially like with compound interest and accrual rates, and I'm not going to go into it because someone's going to like overspeak me on this, but essentially you get your credit card statement in the mail, and they say your minimum payment is $25 or $40. It's always this ridiculously low thing, right, for thousands of dollars of debt. So it's really funny how they do that. So you're going to pay what you normally can pay on your credit card bill, and then 2 weeks later, middle of the cycle, you're going to pay your credit card bill again. So you can take, if you have, let's say you're working with 6 different credit cards that you're trying to eradicate the debt from, you might be paying, you might just take one card at first, and you're going to do this with that one card to erase that card off your table. And so you'll pay your minimum payment or whatever you can pay that month on that card. Then in the middle of the cycle, like 2 weeks later, there's no bill due, you're going to pay it again. You're going to try to pay, you're going to try to match it, or at least just do like the minimum payment, or you can choose an amount. But you're going to pay on that card twice a month, twice a month, twice a month. And you're actually moving down the interest rates, or not moving down the interest rates, but the amount of interest accrued faster by doing that. Don't ask me the math on that. Ask a math person the math on that. I'm not a math person. I was actually recently looking at my SAT scores. I dug them out. My mom sent them to me, and I was like, I didn't do so well on the math. But that's okay. Doesn't matter. You can still create wealth in your life. You don't have to be good at math. Okay, that was number 6. Number 7, the big one. And I'm going to tell you a quick personal story about this, and we're done. This one is know your roots and patterns. I'm going to explain this for a minute. So it's really like looking at it. Again, this is about taking a flashlight, and you're going to go into little crevices of you. And what I mean by that, essentially, is you're actually going to look at your parents. Who was your mom around money? What did she teach you about money? And who was your father around money? And what did he teach you about money? These are your childhood imprints about you and your ability to create wealth or not create wealth in the world. Or you can also look at I want you to look at your both parents and your grandparents on both sides, as far as what was their relationship to building wealth or building debt, and what did they teach you? And then I want you to, you can make your list. You're going to write it down. Don't just do this in your head. You need to really physically like get down on a piece of paper, and you need to like kind of chart it out and sort it out. And you need to think about, and you need to kind of dig deep and spend a little time with this. Don't just do it in one sitting. You need to kind of do it, go away, think about it, come back and do it again. And I want you to think in terms of what were the good things they taught you? What were the good things you took away with on money? Like how to save money maybe. And then what are the bad things? And then I want you to circle the good things, and you're going to write, this is what I'm going to expand in my life. And the bad things you're going to put an X through, and you're going to say, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to clear it off. This is not going to be my truth anymore. Right? So it's getting really, really clear because we all inherit patterns. We inherit financial patterns and, all kinds of stuff from our parents. So it's really getting clear on who they are and what they taught you. And I'm going to I'm going to tell you a little personal story about this for me as I've been doing my own work around this. My dad was the spender. My mom was the saver. But they were both scarcity mindset. I grew up in this household of there's never enough. Like there's this very tight thing about not wanting to be generous because there's not enough for us. And just recently, I actually really sat down with how I was taught, and that whole scarcity thing and how that affected me every time I even went to a restaurant and was going to tip the waiter for their service and to offer something to another human being. My childhood elements of scarcity would come up and affect how I would tip this other person. And I myself was a waiter for many years, and I kind of battled with that inside myself because it was a pattern. It was an unconscious pattern that would rise up. And so the more I became aware that I inherited this scarcity mindset from my mom, the more I was able to see it within myself. And she still does it. She still does it to this day. As I get clear and get distance from this mindset that I do not want to have, just one phone call, she can bring it right back. So I have to go, oh gosh, there's that scarcity stuff that I don't want to, that I'm moving out of my life. So this is a work in progress, especially if our parents are still alive and still in our lives and affecting us. We're not going to eradicate it in them. We're not going to erase it out of their blueprint. We can take it out of our blueprint. But it's a conscious effort to say, I don't want this in my pattern. And it's really about having that knowledge and that awareness. So I hope these 7 things were really helpful for you. I know this was a long one. I wanted to give you a lot of value around this. And please, if you have any questions about it, and if you're stepping in and trying these tactics, please let me know how they go. I'd love to hear some success stories. And so leave some comments below on my blog. And lots of love to you guys. Thank you so, so, so much for checking in and being a part of this 30-day millionaire mindset expansion, and we will all be better for it in the end. So have a great one, and we'll see you soon. Bye.